This is an instructional video about rates, and the essential question is, what is a rate? So that's defining. So the first thing I'll do is I'll give you the definition. A rate is a ratio where two numbers have different measurements. For example, like $5 per 2 hours. This is a rate because it's a comparison of two numbers, but there are two different types of measurements. This is dollars, this is time. You've seen like $3 per 1 pound at the grocery store, just different things like that. Those are all what we would classify as rates. So, and one more that has to be important is a unit rate. Is a rate out of 1. So for example, like $3 per 1 pound is a unit rate because it's out of 1. So say that I make $15 in 3 hours, find the unit rate. If I make $15, so I have money, I have 3 hours, so unit rate would be always what's the last thing, so it would be out of 1 hour, not out of $1. So out of 1 hour, we'll notice how you have a relationship here, that's a times 5, sorry, not 3 times 5, so times 5, so this would be, so $5 would be my unit, $5 per 1 hour is my unit rate. And a lot of students will do that. Or, I mean, look, you can see this. Let me make that focus just a little bit better. So what you can see here too is that you can even like take 15 and divide it by 3 and that gets you 5, and take 3 divided by 3 that gets you 1. So this one had a relationship that worked both ways. So I'm going to do one example with rate, and I'm going to show you 3 different strategies that I've taught students on how to solve that. So it takes John, I'm just making up names, 4 hours to go 160 miles. How far can he, oops, not her, he go in 6 hours? So like I said, there's 3 different strategies that I taught students. So the first one is leveraging something that we learned in elementary school called a factor puzzle. So here's how factor puzzles work. And what I usually tell students is kind of label your tops. So we have hours and we have miles. So it took 4 hours to go 160 miles. And I want to know how far I can go in 6 hours. And then here's how students do factor puzzles. So what's a common factor between 4 and 6? And you don't want to use 1. So we'll say 2 is a common factor. So then you got to think 2 times what number gets you 4? 2 times 2 gets you 4. So then 2 goes over here. And then you got to think this is an area model. So 2 times what number gets you 160? That'd be 80. 80. And then this here is 3 because 2 times 3 gets you 6. So you got to do 80 times 3, which is 240. So that's how factor puzzles work. So really you're just looking at your common factors and looking at that common relationship that you see either vertically or horizontally. So that was one strategy. The next strategy is a T-table, which is one that they'll use a lot when they're in 7th grade. So with a T-table, I still have my 2 labels. I have hours and I have miles. So 4 hours, I go 160 miles. I want to know in 6 hours. And then what I always do is I look for a relationship. And that always has to be either multiplying, I'll move this up a little bit more, multiplying or dividing. It can't be an adding or subtracting. So I always take a look vertically first. So I look 4 to 6, can I multiply or divide? Not by a whole number. And we always want to try and get whole numbers with these. When we can't, 6th graders will learn a strategy, but for right now we won't. But I know here 4 times 40 gets you 160. So I'm going to do 6 times 40 to get 240. So that's what I use there. That's the t-table. And then the last one that we taught them was equivalent fractions. So I have one fraction equal to the other. Here's what I like to do. I still like to keep my labels. So in 4 hours, I go 160 miles. I want to know about 6 hours. And notice again, that relationship still is there. It just kind of gives that fraction version, which some students really appreciate that and prefer that. So you still get to the same solution. Another way you could set this up is you could have it like this, and you could have hours on top and miles on the bottom. So then 4 hours gets you 160 miles. How about 6 hours? So you can see that vertically there, it's still the same. You just want to make sure that whatever information's tied together, like this one, 4 hours, 160 miles, that's tied together from the problem. They either have to be matched horizontally or vertically. And then you want to make sure that your labels are matching as well. So if hours is vertical, that whatever's hours goes in this column versus whatever's miles. So, but yeah, those are 3 different strategies that we've taught students. Other kids just simply can figure it out in their head, like, oh, I just divide, or oh, I just multiply. And that's a completely valid strategy as well. But here are 3 different ways too that students can use. So that's how you can use rates.